became more clear.
Ready?
Good evening, folks. I'd like to call to order the Monday, May 11th Town Board meeting. We are located at the Palmyra Town Hall, W1125 Highway 106 in Palmyra. Roll call.
Gajewski?
Here.
Montgomery?
Here.
Certification of compliance with open meetings law.
The meeting has been posted in compliance with the statutes.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1, approval of the town board minutes of April 13th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I would second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the payment of bills as presented.
The bills we have this month are GFL Environmental, $10,520.69. Debbie Muehlbauer, $10. It's a refund of an overpayment of a dog license fee. Catalyst Assessors, $4,250. And Catalyst Assessors, $3,250. Harrison Williams McDonald, $440. Postmaster, $162. That's a rental fee for our P.O. box. Northwest Services, $4,379.53. That is for storm damage culvert on Piper Road. Northwest Services, $4,144 for storm damaged trees. Josh Gajewski, $369.40 salary. Mark Montgomery, $230.87, that is salary. Michelle Smith, $3,329.22, which is also salary. We Energies, $71.11, that's for street lighting. Brightspeed, $203.26 for internet and phone service. We Energies, $195.73. That is for electricity for the town hall building. And Jefferson County Highway Department, $7,138.75. That covers the cost of Zion road repairs.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second motion to approve the bills. Roll call vote, please.
Montgomery?
Aye.
Gajewski?
Aye. Item number 3, public comment. Citizen statements are limited to 3 minutes. Although the public may speak on any item not included on the agenda, under public comment, the board cannot respond or discuss the issue at this time. In accordance with open meetings law, the board must notice an item on the agenda to allow for discussion on the matter. Attendees may ask questions or express opinions specifically about listed agenda items when that item is being discussed. Your comments will be considered and may be placed on future agenda future agendas for further discussion. First, we have Benjamin Jolliffe. You would state your address?
That is, thank you. I'm at 537 South West Bend. I'm here with my grandma here regarding issues on the compost site. As far as the discussions. Therefore, am I speaking now on the issues, or are we saying the
Yep.
agenda? Okay.
3 minutes.
So, regarding the issues, the compost site, it's been a continuing thing between many of the people that are living on Hooper Road. It's been an issue that's been brought up in last meetings. We were bringing up points regarding to the livable conditions being much worse, just based on yesterday. We were Mother's Day on Saturday. Couldn't even have the windows open because of just the wretched smell of death and decay from the birds that are being placed on that land by the millions. There's been brought up points where saying people are wanting to not do that, saying they have no other options, saying the DNR had only located that one area based on the meetings that I've watched previously that was told me to go through. So I just feel that we need to look at different opportunities to see where these can be changed because it's impacting the lives of the community. Regarding the site itself, we wouldn't be allowed to put it next to the high school because everyone knows it's the children, that's the people that are going to be going up into the next generations. Why is it allowed to be on property that's been a farming community for hundreds of years to just soil their livelihoods based on their retirements? We need to do something different, and it's not working. So that's what I'd like to bring up today as far as different options to go forward with. So.
Thank you. Next on the list, we have Linda Jolliffe.
Linda Jolliffe, W539 Hooper Road, Palmyra, Wisconsin. I'm with my grandson. Yesterday we had the windows open, and it was immediately we had to get the windows shut because of the horrible smell. My daughter was there. She had to get some medicine because it was so horrible. But we need to do something about the vaccinations for the chickens. That can be done with mealworms, and the vaccine can be put over the mealworms and the chickens eat it. End of story. Now, we need to have this stopped. If we don't get the wind and the horrid smell in our faces, CI, the people up there, they get worse. They've got to get worse because I don't know how they do it with the horses they have. That it's bad, really bad. They have put millions and millions. The one paper, the Data Union, I believe it is, put out that over 10.5 million dead chickens were put up there on that land, and now they put at least 3 million more that is rotting and stinking and giving us this horrible smell. It's got to be stopped. We've lived with it. It's going on the 4th year now, and nobody should have to live like this.
Appreciate your comments. Terry Orchard.
Terry Orchard, W137 Little Prairie Road, Palmyra. Regarding number 14, we'll discuss that later, but I just wanted to bring up, if we have time during that, Josh, that you could maybe explain, because people are concerned about how much money we spend on highways and roads. 2 or 3 ideas that we have used and haven't worked, and what you're planning on doing, just so that they understand what worked and why it didn't work or whatever. Okay?
Anybody else for public comment tonight that has not signed up already? Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on. Item number 4, correspondence.
No correspondence to report.
Item number 5, reports, treasurer's report.
As of today, in the town's general checking account balance, we have $304,245.31. Our tax account has a balance of $126,739.56. The airport's checking account has a balance of $66,303.39, and the local government investment pool balance is $93,753.55.
Clerk's report.
No report.
Any questions on treasurer, sorry? Any questions on clerk? Highways. Mr. Northwest.
Over here.
Anything specific you want to pop off, or I can start out and kind of go from there?
Why don't you start out and I'll follow your lead.
Fair enough. Month of April, we had a handful of things go on highway related. Number 1 was related to shoulders, Little Prairie Road, Tamarack Road, Bluebird Ridge, handful of others, Hooper. We also had down trees throughout the town. Kind of skipping ahead with emergency management, but those costs have been submitted to the county for potential FEMA reimbursement at some point. Cover more on that later. Highways, we've had Marsh Road, Lowland, Zion, E-Tense. Remind me, there's another one that's been patched so far, correct?
They started, Pal Steel there. I didn't get very far,
Gotcha. Down on Carlin.
down Carolyn Trail, yeah.
Okay.
That's gonna be the next, finish Carolyn Trail, no. And then it's just pretty much spotty. We did go around the lake today. We didn't find much of anything. The only thing they did find there was, I don't know the exact address where it is, but there's an area of erosion off the side of the road that goes down about 8 inches deep. Just from the picture that I saw, it's probably a good 10, 15 feet long.
Okay.
And they did not do any hot patching on it. It does need it. But if they would have patched it with the shoulder of the road being gone, all it takes is someone to drive over it and then it's wasting time. So that's something that probably, here I'm jumping ahead too. We were talking about doing Dowling. We could probably mingle that in with that intersection and do that repair at the same time. And then the next time they're out hot holing that area, they'll do that as a patch. That would save time and money. So yeah, Blue Island or Blue, exactly. That's all done. Everything around the lake is all patched up.
Anything else on highway? Hate to say it, but at some point we have patching to finish, and with the rain we got in April, obviously mowing is probably not.
They're really not gonna start mowing until the tree starts.
Yeah. Good.
And then costs more money, and eats up blades like crazy. The only thing that I have is that one culvert failure.
Thank you. Aside from the agenda item topic, Bob called today the end of Lowland Road past where V-Ten's turns to the north, which is now just a runway to the railroad. we have a culvert that has collapsed and failed under Lowland Road that at some point we're gonna have to address. More things potentially at some point in time in the future as far as the actual future of that road and if the town wants it as a road, because it literally goes to nowhere after it goes past Fence Lane, but things to conversate about. Right now it's coned and identified for anybody so that they know that it's there, so they don't drive in it or over it any further, but upcoming needs, again. Fire department, I saw Dan was here. Oh, there you are.
Yep. Just a couple of updates, year to date in the town, we've had 34 total calls between fire and EMS. Last month it was basically a split between EMS and fire, with a little bit of mutual aid given out there. We shared that with the village of Palmyra. We recently, this past month, added on 3 new additional part-time staff, which brings our staffing basically to full this year at present. So we've got 6 full-time, 17 part-time, and then with the police officers as PSOs, we've got 4 additional staff. So we got the biggest staff we've had in quite a number of years. So which is allowing us to provide services obviously to the town and village effectively, and even some other contract stuff. And lastly, we had obviously the big chicken farm fire in the last month. So that was a pretty extensive event for us. The 3rd one in 18 months that we've had in either the township or the village. For those that haven't or don't have that much information on it, we had about 40 fire departments from 6 different counties, plus 2 strike teams from Dane and Racine County come up. We put on roughly 750,000 gallons of water on it. So it was a pretty sizable event. So fortunately no injuries, no animals hurt, just a big hunk of steel on the ground right now. So it looks like they're already starting to clear some of it up. So that was a big one last month. Other than that, nothing else at the moment.
What was your part-time employee number?
17.
17? Okay, thank you. Anything else? Fire and EMS related? Questions for Dan? Airport report. No one here from the airport. I did reach out to both Jeff and Al over the weekend and advise them if they weren't aware, which I'm pretty sure they were, that our interim liaison between the town board and the airport commission resigned. Asked them if they had anything to submit, to go ahead and email the board, the clerk, or show up at the meeting. So hopefully we can get that resolved and back to full numbers on their side here shortly as well. Blue Spring Lake District, I see a few folks from Blue Spring Lake here tonight. Anything to report on behalf of the district?
No.
Not so much?
Not other than the agenda items.
Okay. Similar story there as far as the town board liaison, be addressed in the hopefully near future. Building inspector.
We had one building permit reported this last month. It's for an Island Road property and it's for a new garage. The building permit cost was $250, which means the town got $25 out of it. Not much.
All right, emergency management plan. I'm also going to kind of morph that into emergency management in real life because we've had a fair amount of that. I had anticipated touching on the fire out at Daybreak. Additionally, we've had, again, as mentioned under highway, a fair amount of storm-related damage. Also had Island Road underwater and closed for a period of time. Those costs were submitted to the Jefferson County Emergency Management Department as far as a countywide consolidated report to FEMA. More to come at that point. A state of emergency, a declaration, was made by the governor. The funding piece of it is TBD, and to be determined on amount as well. Tracking all that individually, but appreciate Northwest Services during that period of time. We did what we could to minimize, I'll call it peak hour billing, and then go back and adjust during normal hours of business for tree removal. We'll get to that more and more in depth on item number 14 here tonight. Specifically regarding the HPAI response, and primarily everybody's concerned with the compost site. Been in contact with Daybreak probably a half a dozen times over the last week. Barrett had plans to attend the meeting tonight. Fortunately or unfortunately, he is not here. The good reason why is because they finally got permitting authority through the DNR to de-water the 11 inches of rain that we got in April from the site. The short version of that is they, for the last 2 weeks, have been under a notice of non-compliance by the DNR because they had standing stormwater within the rows that make up the compost windrows, all 52 of them. That site had been designed and approved by DNR, and it held water when we got 3 inches of rain on the 17th and 18th, surprisingly to hopefully no one, that it held water between the windrows. To move things forward as far as the site itself, the first thing they had to do was address the stormwater that had accumulated, which as of apparently Saturday late at night, they had gotten approval to do. So they started today with that process, and they hope to be done with it by, I'm going to call it close of business on Wednesday. From that point, there is continued correspondence, I'll call it, between Daybreak and DNR. DNR is the state authority that currently has jurisdiction over that site. They have had the quarantine released by DATCAP for the compost material, meaning that it has met all qualifying needs for virus elimination within the compost itself. DNR then takes over the process and runs it out to finished compost to be able to haul the material off that site. I had an email out on May 1st when I found out that 4 days before that there was an NON issue that the town hadn't been made aware of, as well as the compost release, and it took 10 business, I shouldn't say 10 business days, it took 10 days for the DNR to respond to me as far as what are the upcoming needs of the compost. Long story short, I was directed back to Daybreak to find out what their plan is for the compost. What I can tell you is that in between time, I had numerous conversations with Daybreak, and their main goal is to move the material off that site however they can, as fast as they can, and as early as they can. However, there seems to be some differing opinions as far as when that can occur and under what regulation. So, I've been, again, in correspondence and been told numerous times that Daybreak does not want this site there any longer than any of you do, and they were ready, literally ready to haul all the material off starting a week ago, and are still trying to deal with the NON that was issued on the 26th, I believe, 24th. I have to look back in my notes, of April. So, that also is my goal as one of your board representatives, is to move that bus as far as we can, as fast as we can. Frankly, just to eliminate the site. There's some options that are out there, and there's a lot more that are not out there for them to be able to move that compost material, which currently is classified as solid waste through the DNR's eyes. It is not compost, it is not organic material, it is not agricultural, it is solid waste, which brings in a whole different hurdle. And this is where the finite details of 60 million pages worth of state statutes and DNR administrative code makes it a fun little circus for everybody. So that's what I know. Last meeting we had the purple air monitor conversation that I saw on a social media post that Jefferson County is working to deploy those. I don't know if you want to touch any more on that.
The property owner where it's going to be installed expects to have the electrical installed by the end of this week. And then Elizabeth from Department of Health will bring the monitor over and we will get it installed and make sure that it's got the required Wi-Fi connection and operating.
Last piece of the puzzle as far as emergency management, loosely related for everyone, the previous emergency proclamation for a state of emergency, road closure, and lowered speed limit is still in effect for anybody that cares. It runs through the end of May, unless we extend it or close it before that. So, Zion Road technically is still closed to through traffic, one way, shape, or form. If you see any of that, please report it to our sheriff's department because it is not supposed to be going on. Last good bit of news is that we had applied, or at least notified, solicited if you would, Senator Tammy Baldwin's office for potential congressional funding for the north segment of Zion Road between Hooper and CI. We did get notification that the senator is going to move that forward through the appropriations process. So it's at least an opportunity. How far it goes and for how much is way yet to be seen. So part of the reason why, from call it the chairman's perspective here, that have not re-proclamated to reopen Zion Road is because there was the at least fleeting distinct potential that that material could be hauled off, which puts us right back where we were in March as far as hauling in. Additionally, just because of the condition of that road, frankly, the way that it is, the less traffic right now, the better. So if you have an issue with that, feel free to send me an email because everybody else already has. Sheriff's Department, I don't see our buddies in brown here tonight, so we'll move on. Parks and Recreation. Is Michelle from the village here? No? Okay, so for anybody who is interested, the reason why this has been added is the village has a new Park and Recreation Program Director. Her name is Michelle, with 2 L's. And she had reached out to the town board and said, hey, I'm new. What do you need from me? So I emailed back and said a report, any upcoming cool items that she's got going, or to show up in person. So had Michelle put it on the agenda. Hopefully, I think she emailed Tuesday or Wednesday of last week maybe. So relatively still new on the docket, but hopefully we can get some information from her. Involvement from the Park and Rec Department would be helpful during budget as well. It always seems to be a curious topic, so. Moving on. Let's do item number 6 as it's listed. Johnson Block's presentation of the 2025 Town of Palmyra audit and possible action on acceptance of the audit. Mr. Jeff.
Yes, thank you. Well, hi everyone, my name is Jeff Oswald with Johnson Block and Company, and we conducted the financial audit for the town again this year. So similar to past years, I'm here just to do a brief overview of the financial statements and then answer any questions you may have as the board with regards to the audit this year. Similar to past years, I won't be going through the full audit report and communication letters themselves, so I do have the financial overview. I'm assuming you have that as part of your board packet as well, so that's what I'll be presenting off of tonight. So prior to getting into the financial statements themselves, I just briefly want to go through the content of the audit report. Essentially, when you page through that draft in your packet, what you'll see. So first off is our independent auditor's report. That is where we provide the opinion. We did provide an unmodified opinion again this year, and that is the highest level of assurance we are able to provide during an audit engagement. That essentially means that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects, and that they are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. After the opinion letter comes the financial statements, so with this being a general fund only audit, that includes essentially the general fund's balance sheet and income statement. After the financial statements come the required footnote disclosures, and then in the back of the audit report, there are a couple of budget to actual comparison schedules as well. And I will point out there that it looks like on the agenda that there are some proposed budget amendments to the 2025 budget. Currently in the draft, though we are showing the original budget that was approved back in probably November of '24, but knowing that there will be amendments, or possible amendments to the budget here approved tonight. Once we get those amendments sent back to us, we will get that included in the final audit report and be on our way with the final budget as well. To go on with the audit, we were also engaged to compile and submit the town's annual Form CT. I know Megan, who was in charge of the audit this year, I know she sent the draft off to you for review, and so that is technically due here this Friday. So once we sort of get your final approval, we will get that submitted prior to Friday. And then at the end of the audit process, we are required to provide governance, so you, the town board, a couple of standard audit communication letters. So that is the second document that you should have in your packet. So I don't want us to get too in depth on those letters, but the couple items I did want to point out is during the audit process, we are required to evaluate the town's internal control procedures and identify any potential deficiencies in those controls. We did identify 2 deficiencies, and these are the same ones we have reported on in past years, same 2 that are very common for smaller municipalities such as the town. So this would be material audit adjustments that were reported during the audit, along with the lack of segregation of duties. So essentially with the limited staffing, just the one staff person here, Michelle, and then lack of resources, lack of staff, lack of potential expertise in some areas, that there is a lack of segregation of duties just overall in the financial statement process. But again, very common, nothing out of the ordinary for small municipalities such as the town. And then we also provided a management letter again this year, and this is where we identify any additional recommendations or points of emphasis we wanted to point out to management and to governance. So these are just some additional recommendations that we had. I have them bullet pointed there. We get a little bit more in depth as to what our actual recommendations are in the letter itself, but those bullet points there are the ones that we did include in our letter this year, the majority of them being sort of carryover ones from past years as well. So again, nothing really out of the ordinary there. So then starting on actual page 1 here, we get into the financial statements themselves. And this is essentially a condensed balance sheet of the general fund. So you'll see at the top of the page there, starting with the assets, the majority of the general fund's assets are in the form of cash and taxes receivable at year end. Now the majority of the cash balance was related to year-end tax collections, and so that was about $1.5 million in tax collections at year end. So the majority of that cash balance, as of year end, would have been sent out in 2026 to the other taxing jurisdictions. And then you go down the line there were some liabilities for accounts payable and other accrued liabilities. The due to other governments, that is the other taxing jurisdictions, portions of the tax levies, the 25 tax roll paid in 2026. And then the deferred inflows of resources there, that is the town's portion of the 2025 tax levy. So that's the $841,000 there would be shown as revenue in 2026. And then the net amount is fund balance, and so you'll see there that we do split fund balance out by the 2 sort of applicable fund balance classifications. So you have assigned and unassigned. Then at the bottom of the page there, we note that unassigned fund balance is 2% of 2026 budgeted expenditures. And the reason we have that noted there is because the town actually has a minimum fund balance policy of the unassigned fund balance being at least 25%.